In a classic but humorous fall from grace, Washington Post reporter Taylor Lorenz apparently has lost her job at the mainstream media or corporate press outlet, whatever you want to call it. And I am not sad. I don't feel sorry for her. I am glad she is no longer a part of the news. 'Cause I've been living life right like I could just die any minute. Going for a ride down the side. Hi everyone, my name is Jacob Airy. Welcome to the StudioJake vidcast where I talk about all things pop culture. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, and if you're watching on YouTube, ring that little bell so you get notifications when I post a new video, and consider becoming a channel member. All right, so just a little backstory for those of you who don't know Taylor Lorenz. I'll put a picture of her very briefly on the screen. She used to work for the New York Times and I guess until recently worked for the Washington Post. She was a news reporter who was just awful. She was a terrible, no good, very bad person whose main goal in life was to make people she disagreed with suffer. That is what she did with her reporting. She would target other successful women and trying to bring them down. Most notably, she doxed the family of the libs of TikTok editor-in-chief, whatever you want to call her, who would regularly repost, people being weird on TikTok or on Instagram, and she would just repost their videos, and she exposed a lot of the rot inside our school systems all over the country. And it is thanks to her that we know that a lot of these corrupt teachers got into the school system. That wasn't good to Taylor Lorenz, and she set about trying to destroy this woman, and they ended up having sort of an antagonistic relationship. Another person that she tried to destroy was Ari Jacobs, a social media influencer agent who used to run an influencer house, and she was targeted by Taylor Lorenz, so much so that Ari ended up suing Taylor and the New York Times over the things they said about her. Because it wasn't just Taylor kind of writing a bad article about Ari. She intentionally contacted several of Ari's clients, or at least Ari is alleging this, but it seems to me that the evidence definitely points to this, and turned them against her and then proceeded to smear her in the newspaper. So Ari sued. My understanding is it didn't favorably for Taylor because she lost her job at the New York Times. She immediately sets up shop at the Washington Post, where she doxes people, attacks people, especially in the tech world, who are more successful and smarter than her, quite frankly. And now she has lost her job at the Washington Post. A lot of people were suspicious that she may have lost her job kind of early on because she hadn't written an article for them in weeks. She had been making noise about the cutbacks that were happening at that media outlet, thankfully. And also, she took WaPo out of her X profile, which she had actually said she was going to leave X and go to Threads. That didn't happen. She's still posting there. The owner of the Libs of TikTok account decided to do some investigating of her own, and I thought that this was hilarious. So Libs of TikTok posted this, like I said, on their X account. She writes, "Just in, Tay-Tay out at Washington Post. Speculation was swirling recently after she didn't have an article for weeks and WaPo wasn't listed in her bio. I asked her about it and she mocked me for checking with her before posting about it publicly. She will not be missed." So this is what Libs of TikTok owner messaged her. "Hi, I'm writing a story on how your last report on WaPo was August 7th. You also removed mention of WaPo from your bios. Do you still work for WaPo? If not, when and why did you leave? Was it your decision or theirs? My deadline is 1 p.m. ET tomorrow. Thanks." Taylor Lorenz then said, "You can email me," and she gives her email address. "I'm on a multi-week trip abroad for some family stuff that has been planned for nearly a year. I will be back in the US next week. I have not changed my IG, Twitter, etc. bio in months." And then she adds, "I see why you're trying to hire an investigative reporter. Basic facts checking seems hard." And then Libs of TikTok kind of cheekily replies, "Was hoping you were looking for a job," with the smiling emoji. So I thought that was hilarious. Good for Libs of TikTok. Like I said, Taylor had tried to target Libs of TikTok very early on. She had tried to dox her. She went after their family and even people who had similar names as the owner of Libs of TikTok. Just all around disgusting behavior. Well, now Taylor Lorenz is actually asking you for money. So she launched her own independent media outlet, sort of like I have StudioJake Media, I guess. And she's asking for a subscription. Big difference between her and I is, yes, I do have a channel membership and I have a locals page where you can support me if you like, but I don't charge you to visit StudioJake Media. There's no ads and there's no subscription. You can just sign up with your email. That's it. You don't have to pay a fee. I believe in keeping StudioJake Media for free, not forever, but at least in the near future. And I think that that is so funny that now Lorenz is doing this, which is kind of funny because she already had a Substack. So I don't know why she just didn't expand on her Substack. That's very weird. You can do subscriptions on your Substack. Why go to the process of buying a domain that you have to pay for and whatnot when you had a free thing? When I started StudioJake, Substack wasn't launched yet, or it was barely launched. I did try to start on Medium, but it just never took. So I ended my Medium account and just stuck to StudioJake Media because I have grown very significantly there. Thanks to you all, of course. I don't take any of you for granted, unlike Taylor Lorenz. And I don't feel sorry for her in the slightest. This is a woman who has done some evil things to people. She has doxed them, she has chased them down, she has done smear campaigns against all kinds of women. She actually turned a daughter of a former Trump staffer against her. She contacted her and told her to record her, and so she got her mom all upset, and they made it look like they were having this big argument, and it was just so evil that she infiltrated that family that way. She, like I said, she kind of used the same tactics against Ari Jacobs. She targeted her by first investigating her and then not really finding anything to write about. She turned her influencers against her. Absolutely horrible. Absolutely horrifying. And again, all this is alleged because it's never been put in front of a court of law. But in my opinion, the evidence definitely points to Taylor doing this. She is the epitome of everything that is wrong with the media. She wants to be the story, not tell the story like you're supposed to as a reporter. She wants to give her own opinions and put herself out there as she's above the fray. She's not above the fray. Do you know what she is? She is a cry bully. She always whines when people talk back to her and tell her that she's lying or that she's misconstruing the facts. And then she cries on, I think it was MSNBC. She goes on and cries, and she's just like, oh my gosh, I'm being cyberbullied. It's horrible. And you could tell she was faking anyway. However, she is the bully. She is the definition of crybully. So if you don't know what a crybully is, it's very simple. It's a bully who, when they punch you and then you punch back, they start crying. That's what Taylor Lorenz is. She punches people with the power of the media, with the fourth or fifth estate, whatever you want to call it. And then when people say, hey, you're lying. Hey, what you're saying isn't true. Hey, you need to be fact checked. What does she do? She throws a fit about it because that's the kind of people that the media are today. They're not about delivering the news. They are about putting themselves in the story, of telling you how to think and what to think, not giving you the information so you can think for yourself, which is what the media is supposed to do, what the corporate press is supposed to do. And quite frankly, that's why independent, even those on the left, are becoming more popular, because at least we know where Jimmy Dore stands, right? We know where Dave Rubin stands. We know where Cenk Uygur stands. We know where Glenn Beck stands. It's all a game to the mainstream media, to the corporate press, to the state-run media, whatever you want to call them. All those names apply. And I am so glad that a crybully like Taylor Lorenz, who has literally ruined lives, has finally gotten her comeuppance. Now we can just all sit back and hope that the Washington Post itself has fallen. It is a totally different newspaper. And quite frankly, these legacy media outlets that have been around, they claim that the New York Times is the paper of record. The New York Times, they started that story about the woman who was screaming and her neighbors wouldn't come help her as a man was violently stabbing her and she ended up dying alone in the gutter. That story was a lie. Yes, a woman did scream because a man stabbed her to death. She only screamed one time. She wasn't screaming all the way. Neighbors did come to help her and did call emergency services. They just couldn't save her in time. It was not that she was screaming, crying out for help, and her neighbors did nothing. That was a total lie made up by the New York Times. And shame on them for hiring Taylor Lorenz, and shame on WaPo for hiring her. This scumbag reporter who's nothing more than a muckraker. Maybe she'll get a job at TMZ. They tend to like hiring people like her. I don't know. Maybe her new outlet will take off. That's certainly a possibility. She does seem to have a small but very loud fan base. Whatever the case may be, I won't miss her bylines in any media outlet, and I have no plans on subscribing to her new endeavor. I hope it goes the way of all of Meghan Markle's projects. If you like that video, be sure to give it a like, share it out to all your friends, leave me a comment, tell me what you think, and subscribe. And if you're feeling extra generous, click on the bell so you get notifications when I post a new vidcast, and consider becoming a channel member where you get all kinds of perks. If you don't want to support me on big tech, I don't blame you. We were just talking about that, right? Click on the link to my locals community. You can become a monthly subscriber or just send me tips for the articles that I post there. It does have exclusive articles like my current journey through One Piece, which I'm taking right now. Also, you can pick up one of my novels. They're all available on Amazon. Just search my name, Jacob Airy, and the title of the book, and they'll come up like that. Get one or get all, and leave me a 5-star review. I really appreciate it. Once again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time right here on StudioJake.
Cause I've been living life right like I could just die